Okay, guys, sorry I couldn't be there today, but I hope this YouTube helps us to not get too far behind. Please feel free to pause whenever you need to if you feel like people aren't listening or you need to address something or someone has a question. Just press pause at the bottom left hand. Okay, so first off, I want you guys all to get out your agendas. And I want you to write down the following assignments, so get them out. Your homework for Tuesday, the 27th, is to read pages 11 through 21 in that little purple book you have, the history book. So remember to take that home with you this weekend. And there's a set of study questions online. That's on the BT Homework website. I want you to go online and download those and bring those to class on Tuesday. Also, on Thursday, I want you to mark that we have a vocabulary quiz over Chapter 4 vocab. You got to know all the forms listed, nominative and genitive for nouns, all the four principal parts for verbs, etc., etc. You know the drill. Okay, so finish that up. If you need to pause to give people time to finish that up, go ahead. And then when you're done, put your agendas away. Okay. When you're done with that, get out your books and open up to page 58. This is the new story in Chapter 4. I want you to take 5 minutes, someone volunteer, and take 5 minutes, read the information out loud above the story, and pause the YouTube video while you're reading that. Okay, when you're done, you can press play. Okay, you just read the information section at the beginning of Chapter 4, it's really important for you to understand the timeline and the series of events going on here. So the author of the excerpt that you're reading is a man named Marcus Tullius Cicero. Okay, he's very famous. He goes by Cicero, his cognomen. He is a famous orator, philosopher, and an orator, by the way, is a public speaker. He taught a lot about how to speak properly and how to gain attention from the crowd, and many of the rules that politicians nowadays follow, Cicero wrote about. So it stems all the way back to Cicero. Cicero was born in 106 BCE. So here you can see Cicero's born. In the excerpt that we're reading is from a book called De Officiis, and in this excerpt, he's writing about events that happened in 280 BCE, right here, Pyrrhus fighting Rome. All right, so that's really important to realize that he's writing about history. He's writing about history that happened prior to him. Okay, and we need to fill in the gap of history between the Romulus and those 7 kings that followed Romulus that we did for the last test. Right? We need to fill in this history right here between 509 and 280, which is what you're going to read tonight in your history books for homework. So the excerpt that you're reading, it comes from 280 BCE when Pyrrhus is fighting Rome. So I want to give you a little bit of background of Cicero's writing about. Cicero really admired King Pyrrhus, by the way, so that's one of the reasons why he wrote about him in De Officiis. So King Pyrrhus was a king from Epirus, right here, this region in Greece. He was originally from Macedon, related to Alexander the Great, who was the king of Macedon. But he's here in Epirus. Now, Rome has spread a lot. All this green here is Rome at this time. It's spread a lot from the time of Romulus and Remus. It is under Roman rule, and a lot of the city-states of the Italian peoples who were there before them are working as allies with the Italians. But Tarentum was having some trouble with the Romans, and so they called on. They're a Greek city-state. In fact, Greeks had been inhabiting southern Greece from way before Romulus and Remus, or southern Italy. My bad, southern Italy. So this region right here was Greek, but they're not interested in becoming Roman. And when the Romans come into Tarentum, this city here, that's a Greek city, they call on help from Epirus to come in and help them. And so Pyrrhus comes and he does so, and that's what you're going to read about. Here, by the way, I just want to show you a map of the regions. Down here, the Greek city-states. Up here, we got Rome and Latium. To the north are the Etruscans, who the Romans successfully conquered. If you see this map, you see how they've conquered the Etruscans. The Umbrians, the Sabines. Remember, Romulus stole those Sabines. So this is just a map of Italy and the regions at the time. But remember, these down here, these yellow ones, are Greek and Hellenistic peoples. And they do not want to be under Roman control, and they call on help from the Greeks. And King Pyrrhus comes to help them, and you'll read about how that works. Okay, so now that you know the background, I want you to translate the story on the worksheet. Now, the sub has a worksheet that they're going to pass out to you. Remember, don't write in your textbooks. I want you to translate the story using the notes from your book. You'll have 20 minutes to do this. After, we're going to pause the YouTube. After 20 minutes, press play, and we will check your translation. Okay, so with the translation, the story is going to be color-coded. I've got nominatives, which you're going to translate first, because they're the subjects in blue, genitives in green, accusatives in red, and ablatives, prepositional phrases, in orange. So here we go. Check your translations. Pyrrhus, a famous king, wages war with the Romans. Notice war is the direct object, so I translate it after the verb, wages. He wants to have, the infinitive, a land in Italy. Notice I didn't start with land because land is my direct object. This comes after the verb, habere. So he wants to have a land in Italy. A deserter from the camps of Pyrrhus secretly flees and walks into the camps of the Romans. Now remember, when in is followed by the accusative, which it is here. I know you don't know that that's accusative yet, but it is. You're going to find out next class. When in is followed by the accusative, it means into. The deserter, however, does not fear. The deserter does not fear, but wants to see Fabricius. Fabricius is the consul and the leader of the Romans. He says, "You ought to give to me a great reward." The fugitive says, or the deserter says, "If you give to me a reward, I have in mind to secretly enter into the camps of Pyrrhus." Don't be afraid of the fact that the genitive comes between the preposition and its object. So, into the camps of Pyrrhus, and to kill Pyrrhus with venom. The deserter says, "If you give a reward to me, I have in mind secretly to enter into the camps of Pyrrhus and to kill Pyrrhus with venom, with poison." Fabricius, however, does not want to have a victory with a trick, but with a just war. So he doesn't want to take advantage of this deceitful act. And so he calls armed men. He does not give a reward to the fugitive, or to the deserter, but he gives chains. So he ends up locking him up because he doesn't respect the fact that he wants to win the war with a trick, even if it's at his benefit. So he orders the armed men with the fugitive to walk to the camps of Pyrrhus and to give the conquered deserter to Pyrrhus. So he actually gives the deserter back to him. Even though he had a chance to win, he doesn't want to win that way. So he gives the deserter back to Pyrrhus. Okay, so we're done now. If you want to go back a little bit and play it again, actually I recommend that you do that. Go back, play the story again, check your answers one more time, make sure you understand everything, and then you're going to do exercise 9.